Dennis, thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me today. It's been really wonderful the last year to discover some amazing things about our family and learn what a heritage that we have in agriculture and farming. And we've discovered that we have a relative, Jean Stratton-Porter, who wrote some amazing novels in the course of her life and said many things. What are some things that you've learned through her writings that have kind of influenced you?
Well, probably that I'm not the odd person that I thought I was. Having these thoughts that we're going about agriculture today in a way that's just not smart. It's not healthy. We're not producing quality foods. We're producing things, and we're doing it very efficiently. And if we're worried about number of bushels per acre, that kind of thing, we're probably surpassing anybody's imagination in the past of what we could do on the land. But as far as the overall soil health and thinking about all the things that are part of the land, if it's the microbes that should be in the soil for a healthy living soil, or the birds that would come, the pollinators that would take care of our plants, I guess reading Jean's works really made me dig deep and look at how we grow our food. And she had a lot of comments and observations about her father Mark, how he said that the birds were welcome on his land, that what they would eat and seed or whatever was not anything in comparison to what bugs and pests that they would keep under control. So it was an understanding of the balance of nature, ecosystems. A lot of things we put buzzwords around today and create a lot of marketing hype to create what I like to call as a false environmentalism. It's like we have a need to get back to what are smart, healthy things to do with our resources.
Was there any particular novel that you've read so far that stands out in your mind? Any particular lesson from the novel that Jean wrote?
I think it was almost like I've read several of them, and every one went together and had this underlying theme, but I suppose Laddie would have the real Stratton farming essence in it, that you're reading about the farms, and then when you go to visit like our relatives' farms in Ohio, that you start to see, there were important things. They had a variety of trees on their land. They liked the house set back from the road on, say, a 5-acre plot for the house. There were things that she mentioned in Laddie, and I believe in other novels, that she'd talk about a proper farmhouse, and why in the world would you build it right on the dirt road and have all the dust, and you have 160 acres, build it back, have a long drive, have a nice area to live in and enjoy.
It seemed like, from my recollection, it was important to keep trees on the property, or shrubs or bushes or things that would attract those birds and other pollinators and things, and control the pests. And they made a conscious decision to not clear cut the land, so to speak.
Right, yeah, it wasn't a monoculture of corn or soy like we'd see today. It's like we're just happy if they're rotating soy and corn to somehow get some nitrogen back in the soil naturally through the soy growth. But most everything we look at that looks just beautiful and healthy out in the fields today, it's genetically modified. Patent is owned by a big seed company, and we have very little freedom in what we have seed-wise, and very little depth in the genetics of that seed. So everything looks great today. Driving down, went through just outstanding looking cornfields and healthy green, and it's hard to imagine there's anything wrong with it until you start to kind of dig in a little bit.
Well, of course, Jean's novel Laddie was based on her recollections of growing up on the Stratton family farm near LaGrow, Indiana. And the setting would have been roughly in the 1870s, 1880s, and it was common at that time to have these 160-acre farms. Things have changed a lot since then, but do you see the potential of going back to that kind of a concept where a smaller scale farming operation could be done reasonably and profitably? Is that possible?
Absolutely. That's being done. It's being done at Michigan State with their student organic farm, showing how you can make a lot of money on 5 acres, a small piece of ground. That most people think that's a small hobby farm. I think even a 160-acre farm today is considered a hobby farm. When you think of the big farmers are doing in thousands of acres.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's like, what are we growing? We're growing a corn that we can't eat,
Mm-hmm.
a corn that we feed to livestock that isn't their natural food, so we're creating beef from corn that isn't, when you think of cattle, they should be eating pasture grasses, and there should be a wide variety of pasture grasses.
Mm-hmm.
There's places in the world, I think in Transylvania, where there's, people just grow up knowing hundreds of different types of grasses and can identify. And I struggle just to maybe know half a dozen right now. It's like we just, in our society, don't care about that type of diversity. We want to talk about environmentalism all the time, and saving the planet. And it should be, I guess, lifted up to, this is important to us. We care about our food. We don't want it just a mechanical assembly line system anymore.